bloody draws between cowboys and sheriffs, spurs and six-shooters, bustling saloons in old dirty towns. These are some of the first ideas one might conjure up when asked about the Wild West. Wyatt Earp, famously played by Kurt Russell in the 1993 film Tombstone, was one of the most well-known figures of the Wild West. From Arizona to California to Idaho, he dutifully enforced the law during the 19th century. Kootenai County, a place where most of us call home, was once under the protection of that very man. Coeur d'Alene Weekly mentions Earp's growing business and assumption of responsibility in North Idaho at that time. I intend to inform you about Wyatt Earp's time as Sheriff of Kootenai County. In this speech, I will discuss who Wyatt Earp was, how and why he came to Idaho, and his time as Sheriff of Kootenai County. So who was Wyatt Earp? Well, to begin, Earp was born in 1848 in Monmouth, Illinois. He had 9 siblings, 3 of which went off to the Civil War, leaving him and some of his younger brothers to care for their family farm. He was a professional gambler at a young age, and eventually he became a lawman. He's greatly recognized for his time in Tombstone, Arizona. He traveled there because of a huge silver strike, but ended up as a sheriff of a town that was overruled with cowboys and crime. Months of chaos eventually led to the infamous gunfight at OK Corral, which was a 30-second gunfight between Wyatt Earp and his fellow lawmen, and then a large group of cowboys. And despite being outnumbered and one of their members near death with tuberculosis, their group killed all the cowboys. So although only 5 months later, Wyatt Earp's brother Morgan Earp was assassinated in revenge for the gunfight. After this unfortunate event, Earp decided to move north in search of more silver and gold. Idaho was an important destination in the gold rush, and he moved to Coeur d'Alene, where he purchased mining claims, and then he also opened a saloon. So the mining in Idaho was pretty tough due to terrain and just harsh weather. And gold was discovered here in 1882 by A.J. Pritchard. Snowstorms usually covered the district in winter, and rough passes through the mountains kind of prevented any easy access to our state. Yet pioneers eventually crossed the Sawtooth Mountains, and Wyatt Earp eventually made a lot of money there. He was eventually appointed deputy sheriff, which came with pretty great responsibility due to the complex situation, which was that mining claims were split between Kootenai County and Shoshone County. So Earp pretty much had a lot on his plate dealing with both counties at the same time. So a discourse over the previously mentioned terms occurred on March 29th, 1884, and the Spokane Falls Review reported that around 50 shots were fired between the two counties when Wyatt and Jim Earp interfered. They took on the role of peacemakers in this situation and encouraged the people to stop shooting. And eventually Earp became somewhat of a community leader in Coeur d'Alene. He really set an example in the way he settled disagreements and gunfights. And just the citizens of that town really respected him. And at the time, settlements in North Idaho were all pretty much temporary and were built specifically for mining. And Earp's kind of fashion, as well as many other profit-seeking men of that time, was to move to state following the rush, or the gold rush. So eventually, Wyatt Earp had to leave Idaho for family and business matters that he had in California. He died in 1929 in Los Angeles from chronic cystitis, which is like actually an infection of the bladder. And he lived a very full life. He died at 80 years old, so pretty old. And he was a trusted sheriff and frontiersman before and after his time in Idaho. Wyatt Earp faithfully served and protected the county we now call home.